Hello everybody, I'm Raphael Perry and it's time for some more Bloodsword. Now tonight's a bit warmer than usual, so I have a cold drink here which I may occasionally imbibe. But let's get back into the adventure. Before we do, however, I'd like to say last time the puzzle with the 4 masks and the picture of Heimdall standing on Bifrost, I did quickly go check, and there's a very obvious solution to it which I had missed because I was far too deep in my thoughts and thinking all too heavily about what the 5 Magi mean. There is an obvious clue to an obvious solution, which is the fact that the 5 Magi are, and I'm going to say these in a very specific order, red, yellow, green, blue, and white. And Bifrost is a rainbow. And if you just put the masks on in rainbow order, so red, yellow, green, then blue, you get a nice reward. Obviously, I'm not going to cheat and pretend I had that reward, and hopefully we can manage without it. Let's carry on. The door opens onto a wide corridor that leads away into darkness. After a while it opens out into a large chamber. At the far end is a dais upon which rests an iron-shod quarterstaff that glows with a faint radiance. Beyond it are huge double doors adorned with 2 demon faces wrought in gold. Between you and the dais, the floor is a checkerboard of 9 2-meter square stone slabs. For a moment your thoughts are taken back years to the forest glade in Craft and a game of checkers that was used to plot a massacre. That night was the start of your quest. Your attention snaps back to the present. You will have to cross the slabs to reach the dais and the doors. The first 3 lie before you. Will you step out onto the left-hand slab, the middle slab, or the right-hand slab? So it's just a 3x3 pattern, right? So noughts and crosses, or literally 3x3 squares, right? Right. There is no guidance, no clues, no hints, nothing in the entire adventure so far, all 5 books leading up to this point. Which makes this essentially some sort of nasty trial and error contrivance. We've been through a lot of very hard fights and very tough challenges to make it this far. It's pretty miraculous everyone is still alive. However, I should not assume that stepping on an incorrect square means death, right? Or complete failure in our quest. It would be nice to imagine that the route we take across this will be, it will affect the flavour. Maybe we'll have different encounters depending on which squares we step on, or the path we take across will guide us in some way, right? Oh, wait, what if we have to step on every square once? That could be tricky, right? But essentially I'm feeling the consequences, it's not so much a consequences of failure, as in, the consequences should not be too great, because the risk is so great, right? Well, I suppose you could then say high risk, high reward. And I imagine this might affect the power of the quarterstaff at the other end of the room, which we definitely want to obtain. I also imagine we can't just walk straight across the middle unless it is a true test of faith. So we shall see. I'm going to step on the middle slab of the three, and I'll have I'll move everyone down one, and I'll have our sage here on our, you know what, because I can. 3 by 3. There. Wait, need all 4 sides. There we go. Really? Okay, Remy, over you go. There we go. We can do a triangle. Right. You walk onto the center stone slab, senses alert for any trap. Nothing happens. Will you step out onto the slab directly in front of you, the centermost slab of the 9? The slab to your left, the slab to your right, the slab at a diagonal to you, forward and to the left, or the slab at a diagonal to you, forward and to the right? I think I'll go to the left. I don't think the same direction twice is going to be very helpful. Suspecting some kind of trap, you carefully edge your way onto the left-hand slab nearest the left wall. Suddenly you feel the slab shift under your feet and there is a sharp click in the wall on the left. You have a split second in which to act. Will you leap backwards or drop to the floor? Drop to the floor. The word split almost contains the word pit, as in it does, but with an L in the middle and an S in front. The click is in the wall, not beneath the slab at our feet. So something's going to come out of the wall. You hurl yourself flat to the floor as a volley of small javelins flies from the wall to your left, whistling overhead to clatter harmlessly against the far wall. Heaving a sigh of relief, you get to your feet. Okay, so maybe we just have to get across, and we don't have to take a very direct route. Will you step on the slab directly in front of you, still close to the left wall? Step on the slab to your right, still on the front row, where we started? Or step diagonally to the right, onto the centermost slab of the 9? I think I'm either going to go here or here. We could go back and try again. If we presume this is an incorrect choice then, we can just step back to the right. I'm going to go forward along the left-hand side, then diagonally across to there if I can. So directly in front of us. Gingerly, you edge onto the slab. A thrill of horror seizes you as the slab shifts beneath your weight. There is a whirring click at the bottom of the wall just to your left. You must act now. Will you throw yourself to the ground or leap up into the air? Leaping up into the air, bottom of the wall. You jump into the air as a metre-long barbed javelin explodes from the wall 15 centimetres above the floor. It hurtles under your feet and thuds into the far wall. Wiping the sweat from your brow, you continue. Will you step on the slab directly ahead of you, on the last row? The slab diagonally to the right onto the middle slab of the last row, or step right to the centermost slab of the 9? I'm going diagonally forwards. As cautiously as you can, you steal out onto the slab. A surge of adrenaline courses through you as the slab shifts and there is a loud click beneath your feet. Pit. Will you leap forward headlong or drop to the floor? In a multiplayer party, each player should decide separately, as there is no time to confer. When all have decided, starting with the first player in a battle order, turn to the relevant number. We are all leaping forward. Off the grid. You leap forward, coming to rest just in front of a dais. A long, sharpened wooden stake bursts out of the slab you were just on. Relieved to still be alive, you turn your attention to the dais. If any players drop to the floor, they're going to get impaled and dead. None of us have done that. We've made it across allegedly safely. The dais is plain and uninteresting, but the staff that rests upon it is far from that. The quarterstaff is of hard ash, bound with iron at each tip, and with bands of iron along its length. Runes of power are etched into the wood. If there is a sage in the party who wants to examine it, and there absolutely is, because this is obviously a sage item, you recognize the staff as an ancient artifact called the Staff of Might. While you wield it in combat, add 1 to your fighting prowess and 1 to your damage rolls. It also enables you to cast the spell Volcano Spray once per combat. For this purpose, it counts as automatically readied for that combat and is cast with a psychic ability of 10. Interesting. Well, we're having that. Right. Hopefully I'll remember that. You may or may not tell your comrades of the staff's power. Well, look. They might try and grab it for themselves, but no. It is odd that it is placed here. To anyone else, it feels as any other staff would be, but is obviously of great value. When you have finished here, you turn your attention to the great double doors. Oh, okay, so the sage picks up the staff and may choose not to tell the others and might surprise them when he sprays fire all over the place. When you have finished here, you turn your attention to the great double doors. They swing open easily at your touch. As you step through the doors, there is a flash of bright light, and you feel a momentary sense of timeless dislocation. Now you are standing at an underground wharf. A river flows from a low rock tunnel to your left into a wide stone corridor ahead. A cool blast of air accompanies the icy black water on its journey. Bobbing beside you on the water is a barge of copper, finely crafted, easily large enough to take 6 passengers. The magical defences of the tower have teleported you either deep underground, or to some unknown part of the world. There appears to be no other way to go, so you climb aboard and pole your way into the corridor ahead. After a while it widens to the size of a small lake, at the centre of which lies an island of dark rock. At the far end you can just see the river flowing into another tunnel. I don't think that the squares we stepped on dictated this. I think we were always going to be sent here when we went through those doors. We can moor the boat and investigate the island, or carry on up the river. Let us investigate. You moor the barge to some iron railings that have been set into the rock of the island. Let us be careful not to touch the water. As you walk on, you realize that the interior of the island is a low bowl or depression which cannot be seen from the lake. An old, dilapidated hut stands nearby, beside a small shrine consisting of a carved stone pedestal to some forgotten god. We can investigate the hut, or the shrine, or return to the barge. Let's investigate the shrine before we enter the hut, because the shrine may give us some understanding of what the hut may contain, or how to deal with it. There is some dried and desiccated food. obviously an offering that has long since decayed. The shrine is carved to represent a torso, a gigantic sea creature. It has a long, thin, serpentine body which rises up to form a humanoid torso from which sprouts several arms and tentacles. Could this be beneath the hut if there's like a hole in the floor? Its head is a mass of teeth and eyes. 3 of the eyes have been picked out in gold, silver, and copper. We can examine the shrine in great detail, investigate the hut, place an offering of our own at the shrine. Let's examine the shrine in even greater detail. This torso may be up ahead of us, and if we don't place an offering, we may be screwed. Oh, you know all those rations that we never got to eat? You notice that the 3 eyes of the torso, of gold, copper, and silver, are in fact buttons. Tapping the shrine reveals it to have a hollow section at the back below the buttons. It looks like there is a safe inside the shrine, opened by pressing the buttons. I'm not going to do that. Apparently I have no choice. I wanted to go and look in the hut. Okay. We're either going to go largest to small. Why would we open a safe inside the shrine and rob it? That seems incredibly disrespectful. Remy is incredibly disrespectful. Let's go with the copper one and work our way up. I was thinking silver, copper, gold might be the way, but there's a loud click and a grinding noise. A section of the shrine springs open, but to reveal only crushed glass. Drops of liquid spatter onto the rocky ground. It seems you have pressed the wrong button. Probably healing potions or something. Shrugging, you decide to continue your barge journey upriver. And we don't now get to check the building. You pole your way up the dark riverway. The slapping water echoes all around you, and you eye the murky, oily waters distastefully. Is it your imagination, or did you notice something moving in the depths, probably looking remarkably similar to the thing in the shrine? A little way ahead, the tunnel mouth looms invitingly. You begin to feel vulnerable and exposed on the open water. Nameless fear begins to rise in your heart. Well, not that nameless. I think I should call it the torso. If you docked at an island and put an offering on the shrine there... Unfortunately, we pressed a button. We saw the shrine, but did not leave an offering. You have more sense than to place any offering on the altar of a pagan god. You trust in the Almighty to protect you in this, the last hour of recorded time, and your devotion is repaid. Though you sense a lurking evil in the depths below, it does not dare emerge to confront your righteous might. Wow. I chose correctly after all in many ways. You reach the tunnel safely. Ahead, you notice that the river is ringed by a strange light. The current forces you on towards it. Inexorably, you draw closer, plunging into the refulgent golden glow ahead. You feel a gut-wrenching sense of dislocation. You're being teleported again. I'm thinking we're going to do 5 tests, right? We've had the Heimdall on the Rainbow Bridge, which will be white for knowledge or gold for gifts. Were it not for the fact we're heading into the golden light now. We've been through a test of illusion or death, which could be blue. This could then be gold. There's probably red and green still to come. You're in a round chamber with windows onto a night sky. You recognize the portentous conjunctions of the stars and the shattered city beyond the windows. It seems you have been transported further up the tower of Spyte. A spiral staircase leads upwards, and we shall follow. You make your way up through several rooms and passages until finally you enter a large domed chamber. A spiral staircase winds up from the mosaic floor into the center of the dome. As you ascend, you notice that the dome is painted with astrological symbols. Did the architects of Spyte foresee this fateful day when the dome was built, even though that was many centuries in the past? It would seem so. Right. If you have the code word route, we do. But the fact that none of the cultists lived to route means we still had to record it because we killed them all, but with a 0. If not, turn to 130. I presume all the cultists would be here if not. And the amount that routed would be added to something. If we end up having to fight a number of cultists and there's no cultists because we killed them all, it's like, how many cultists got to run away? So section 90, in case I need to come back here and go the other route because of letting none escape alive. Right, yeah, look. A dazed battle cry alerts you to someone lying in ambush at the top of the staircase. You immediately think of the disciples who escaped from you earlier. None of them escaped. One of them careens down towards you, screaming in fury, heedless of his own safety. Almost disinterestedly, you prepare to do battle. This will but whet your appetite for the night's main event, your clash with the Magi themselves. Guess what? Deploy appropriate number of disciples in front of players 1 and 2. The number of the staircase newel obstructs blows struck upwards by a player on the right-hand side of the party. A player in this position must subtract 1 from his or her fighting prowess. The number of disciples you are facing is the number you have written beside the code word route on your character sheet. They will continue to file down the stairs towards you until you or they are all dead. They're all dead already. Literally route 0. If you overcome them, remove the code word route and turn to 534. Let's go back to section 90 and just see what happens if we don't have the code word route. Okay. If we don't, it's 130, isn't it? So... All is lost, says a husky voice from behind you. I wonder if we'll come back to this. So, 90. Well, that was obviously a very short fight, as there were no combatants. 49. A searcher for bodies turns up 2 flasks of healing potion. Each of these can be drank to restore 3 to 18 lost endurance points. You can drink them at any time. If you do so in the middle of combat, that counts as 1 round's action. You can also take the disciples... Well, look, we killed them, we took their stuff already, moves on to 130, so I should have gone route 0 is no route. Yes. And we shall clear this. Refresh vision. And remove. Because at the end of the section where we killed them, we were instructed to record the word route and the number that escaped at the end of the combat. There was no consideration taken for the fact that none might escape. The stairs go up to a polygonal room with faces in high relief glowering from the walls. There are several exits from here. Selecting one at random, you pass along a curving passage and enter a gallery that runs around the outside of the tower. Claustral windows. Should it be cloistral windows? Claustral windows overlook the city. You go over and take a breath of cold night air. Looking down at the ruins, you find them stark and unreal amid a jumble of 5-fold shadows. You have the sudden impression that the 5 stars are now lower in the sky. They are descending to Earth. Have you lost track of time? Midnight is barely 15 minutes off. You must hurry to find the chamber prepared for their reincarnation. You know that for just a few seconds, when they first return to human form, the Magi will be disoriented and vulnerable to attack. It's like Big Trouble in Little China. If you are not on hand to take advantage of that moment, all will be lost." "All is lost anyway," says a husky voice from behind you. Someone can read our thoughts. You whirl, cursing the momentary lapse of concentration that allowed this newcomer to take you unawares. Backed up against the weathered parapet, you could hardly imagine a worse place to make a stand. Facing you are two figures. A sinisterly smiling woman whose body is covered with intricate tattoos, and a tall robed swordsman of the Ta'ashim race. It was the woman who spoke. How did she know what you are thinking? She gives a deep laugh. "I am Zara, the Mantis, reader of minds." You have heard of her, an amphibian enchantress of awesome repute. Some say her tattoos contain bound demons which she can call forth to slay her foes. She nods. "You will never know that for certain, though. I have a much better plan in mind for dealing with you. The incantation of fulminant death." "Oh, disease." "In seconds you will be but a pile of smouldering ashes, a form in which you'll pose no further threat to my master's re-embodiment." She raises her hands. Flickering grey-white occult energy gives her gloating face an unholy cast. There is no way you can reach her before she unleashes the spell. Behind her, the man is drawing his sword, but from what you know of fulminant death, there'll be nothing left for him to fight. Do we get a picture? We do get a picture. Aha! So, Ta'ashim agents are set against us. We do have the blood sword, however. This may prevent her spell. You close your eyes in prayer. At least dying now, you can hope to enjoy eternal afterlife as the reward for your efforts. The blast of searing pain you were expecting never comes. Instead, there is a soft swishing sound and then the crack of something hitting the marble floor. "Oh! Is it Hassan in disguise?" You open your eyes. It takes you a split second to take in what has happened. Zara's headless body sways and then topples forwards. The Ta'ashim warrior wipes his sword on a square of silk, Hassan's signature habit, and sheathes it. Zara's head is lying by his feet. We can attack him immediately or say, "Oh, hello, Hassan, we haven't seen you." Literally, I think in the last episode I was saying how nice it would be to have Hassan here to help us. Let's ask him why he killed Zara. "First, I must introduce myself. I have the honor to be Karuna's Ustad Hussein, youngest son of the Grand Master of the Marijar Assassins. My father is Hassan Isabah," you nod. "He was there when the Blade of Life was recovered." "So he has told me. On that occasion he meted out Al-Ilah's justice to the evil Prince Susurian. Subsequently you took the Blade of Life, and my father acquired the Blade of Death, this very weapon that I now wield." He holds up his sword for you to see. It is indeed the blood sword's dark twin. "When last we met, he hinted we might meet again." Karunaj shakes his head sadly. "It is not to be. My father has been planning our cult's opposition to the Magi for many years, even before you began your quest. However, not long ago he was grievously wounded in battle against Jomo Mahadur, leader of the Pansigar assassins. As this wound proved incurable, it has slowly taken its toll on my father's health. He is many centuries old, as you may know, and his age is much more apparent now. He could not undertake this quest himself. Thus he charged me with the task of infiltrating the secretive disciples of the True Magi, and since I have mastered the techniques of Takmin Kaba, the concealment of forts, I was able to fool even the haughty seeress Zara, who made it her duty to interrogate all among the disciples." You notice a hint of bitterness in Karunaz's voice. Obviously, as a Ta'ashim, he would resent having to keep up the pretense of subservience to a woman. Ta'ashim society is very much male-dominated. Thank you for slaying her, you say, remembering that his swift action probably saved your life. It reminds you of the way, swift and silent as a snake, his father killed Prince Sosorian that night. Was it 2 years ago? More? He bows. My pleasure, I assure you. But this is no time for us to be exchanging courtesies. Only minutes remain before the fateful conjunction of the 5 stars. You and I have travelled here to oppose the return of the Magi, who existed in my faith as devils, just as they do in yours. Tonight is the eve of the end of all things, as we know from our sacred books. It is time for Ta'ashim, Angatanadean, Easterner and Westerner, to stand together against those who would bring about damnation for all mankind. You join your voice with his. Aye, Karunas. For too long the madness of the Holy War has led our two peoples to live in conflict, when instead they should embrace each other as brethren. History's last few grains of sands are now running to the bottom of the glass. If we are to die, let it be against a foe whose evil is absolute and whose destruction is richly deserved. Together you raise your swords in a death vow. God grant us the strength we need to slay the last of the Magi. Well, that's a turn of events. Can we trust Karunas? First off, the Ta'ashim Marija assassins have essentially allied with us through Hassan. There is a debt of gratitude and for helping them retrieve the sword, and they do seem to be honourable. The Death Sword, however, the Sword of Death, may influence his decisions. It might have its own interest. We'll need to... But this is an adventure where the latter portions of the adventure have been dominated by faith and purity, so I think we do trust. Add Karunas to the battle order, and get the code word Mason. You will need to make a note of his characteristics, which are 9d6. Okay, fighting prowess 13. He's hitting virtually every time. Psychic ability 10, awareness 11, endurance 100, armor rating nothing. He is going to be brutal. These values include the effect of the Sword of Death, which, like the Blood Sword, gives +3 to fighting prowess and 2d6 to damage. Also, like the Blood Sword, it slays any undead creature it hits if the creature fails to make a psychic resistance roll. If Karunas gets killed and you have to take the Sword of Death yourself, turn it once to 40 to find out what it does. Make a note of this across the top of the character sheet you have filled out for him. Before turning to 40, you will have to make your place in the book, as 40 will not guard you back there. Now turn to 440. Well, first, I'll go make a token for Karunas, and honestly, I think we'll use the same Ta'ashim portrait we've used a few times before. Back in a mo. Here we have Karunas with his incredible ability scores. However, if we take away the 2 extra damage dice and the 3 fighting prowess from the Sword of Death, he actually has the same ability scores as a 20th rank trickster, but with 20 less endurance points. And if we were playing but a single hero on this quest, we would have ability scores not dissimilar to his. So essentially, he's playing the solo version of the book. A different parallel adventure. In terms of inserting him into the battle order, I think what I'll do is put him in Remy's position in 2nd place, shift Remy into 4th place, and Ariadne in 5th. Now, since we are instructed to add him, to specifically add Karunas to the battle order, that means he essentially becomes a party member and we can heal him. Which is good. We're probably going to want to do that because he has no armor. He has a lot of endurance points, so he can take quite a beating and he can dish it out. He can definitely... We could send him out in front to all the dangerous things. but I think we want to be a little careful. Make sure we keep everyone alive. For now, though, our adventure continues. Karunas takes you along the gallery to another flight of stairs leading up to the roof of the tower. As you proceed, he fills you in on what he knows of the Magi's plans. My father discovered that the cataclysm which destroyed Spyte was no accident. Piecing things together from some documents found at the Magi's castles, it seems that 5 of them planned a disruption in one of the ancient rituals. The demon god which was being summoned by the ritual was slain, unleashing a blast of unholy energy that cracked the very walls of Spyte. The 5 did not transform themselves into stars to flee this disaster, as is often supposed. It was the energy given off which enabled them to become stars. That was their intention all along. I almost imagine that they'd done a deal with the demon was coming to collect, and they died to escape it, sending their souls off into the sky, and now they're going to try and come back, now that the demon is, enough time has passed or something. Become stars? To what earthly purpose, you ask? Oh, they want to become gods. You are tensely alert of danger, feeling and fighting the fear that is beginning to gnaw at your insides. No earthly purpose, whispers Karunas in answer. It allowed them to listen to the music of the spheres which no mortal ear has ever heard. The secrets they have garnered under the eaves of heaven have increased them far beyond the power they wield as mortal men. Blah. The secrets they have garnered under the eaves of heaven have increased them far beyond the power they wielded as mortal men, and heaven knows that power already was great indeed. If they succeed in returning to earth now, they will reincarnate themselves as beings nearer to gods than to men. Again, we have the word reincarnate. I do not believe they're going to magically create bodies of their own. I believe that the 5 sacrificial victims, the 5 slaves that we believe are going to be sacrificed, are either going to be the new bodies of the Magi, or they are going to ritually sacrifice the 5 actual mages, the cult Magi, who will then be inhabited by this, will then become empty vessels for the new Magi to enter. And that actually, having the slaves be, mentally controlled, just like, kill us now and then just wait, that makes sense. You reach the bottom of the last flight of stairs. Up on the roof above, you hear the sound of low, eerie chanting. The Magi's disciples have begun the ceremony of reincarnation. Karunas opens a compartment in his ring and takes a pinch of aromatic snuff from it. Kaif, he whispers to himself. If he was wounded? Because we might have hit him. Those wounds now disappear and he is restored to full health. He sees the look in your eyes and says, Regretfully, I cannot give you any of this powder. It is the sacred charas of my cult, but its effect on outsiders is rarely beneficial. Well, then we won't ask for any. We will accept his explanation. This has healed him. It would probably be greatly poisonous to us. What are we going to do? Demand some for powder, and if he refuses, we'll fight him for it? No. If he needs it to protect himself from some kind of magical energies, and we could benefit from it, I think he would offer it to us. I said I think we trust him for now. You mount the steps to the flat roof of the tower, where a large area has been marked out for some sort of summoning. In the centre of an inscribed pentacle, you see a group of terrified captives cowering inside a circle of many-coloured flame. At each point of the pentacle stands a robed wizard. These 5 are the supreme disciples of the Magi, and you can be sure that their occult powers are great, and that we might not need to fight them, we might have some workaround. Oh, we can volcano spray. Yeah, okay. They glance at you with hatred in their eyes, but make no move to attack. "You are too late to stop us!" screams one. "It is the end of the world! The era of the Magi is at hand!" They begin a low chanting. Instantly the shrieking wind drops, enveloping the roof in dead silence. Then you hear an eldritch melody joining the chant. It sounds to be coming from far off, but it is getting nearer. A flicker of rainbow light shines down on the area of summoning. You look up into the sky. The 5 stars hang right above the tower, each aligned with one of the points of the pentacle. They seem so close you could almost reach up and touch them. The unearthly music comes from them, the music of the spheres, the celestial harmony, knowledge of which has turned the last of the Magi into gods. "We must hurry," says Karunaz, seizing your sleeve. "The summoning is not yet complete. However, we must take care not to kill the disciples after they have stopped chanting, as their deaths then would only serve to add power to the sacrifice. So we have to kill them before they stop chanting? Do we have a time limit? If you use an item, the blood sword, if your first thought is to free the captives intended for sacrifice, if you leap forward and attack the disciples, well, I think Karunaz is going to do that anyway. How would we use the blood sword here? So far, it has had one extra use. We were told we would have others. We don't have a lot of other potion of diminution. We haven't had to use those yet. We've got healing items. Herbs and magical arrows. The Crimson Bat's gem, which I doubt is going to be of use here. Talk of reanimation. Ooh, there's a thought. Let's see if we can use the blood sword. Which item will you make use of now? Choose carefully, as the fate of the world literally hangs in the balance. The Galar horn, which we would have got from Heimdall, and probably is the perfect thing to use here. A chunk of rock salt, or the blood sword itself. Going for the blood sword, it's our only real option. The disciples stare aghast as you brandish the blade. Obviously they recognize it and fear its power, but they are too far into the ritual of summoning to break off and attack you now. In fact, they cannot even fight back or defend themselves, so this is a race against time. We're in the middle of the pentacle? With the... wow. Disciples of the Magi. The defensive spells they prepared beforehand have the effect of armor. Armor rating 5. Got it. After 3 rounds, note your position and current wounds. Are we going to kill them all before 3 rounds? I got 15 health each. Let's see. First off, 15 health and 5 armor. A sword thrust is not enough. Let's chuck on our nemesis bolts, because we can. Then I'll see if I've got a map with a pentagram on it or something similar. Back in a moment, guys. I sense we are nearing the end of our quest, but it's going to be challenging. Here we are. At last, a final confrontation against the cult. Now, it has occurred to me a number of things here. So, it has occurred to me that if this all started with a ritual that used the power of a demon to transform the Magi into stars, and they wish to become incarnated not necessarily as mortals, but as a physical presence on the world, just before Doomsday and the Great Reckoning, they may very well use the power of the same demon to transport themselves into the bodies of these 5 wizards here, or the sacrificial people in the middle of the circle, who we probably should have tried to free, but hey-ho, time is short. Can we kill them in 3 rounds? First off, they only have psychic ability and endurance, and an armor rating from their protective spells. Karunaz can certainly kill one a round. unless he rolls extremely low for damage. So Alwyn can likewise potentially kill one around. Remy and Brother Kern between them may be able to kill one, and Ariadne should probably have taken a sword thrust spell instead of the nemesis bolt to finish off any that these two fail to finish off. Let's see how it goes. First off, we'll send Karunaz towards the closest foe and attack. He hits for 9d6 damage. That's 31 points. That's easily the 20 needed to defeat that disciple. That wicked magician is destroyed. Remy will realize that with his movement he can get to this disciple over on the right, as can Brother Kern. But with 6 squares, 1, 2, 3... Okay, no, Karunaz can still reach everyone. I think we'll go for the one down here, though, to the lower right. Remy's going to saunter over to him and attack him with his sword. I keep thinking it's a magic sword because he used to have one, but it is not. So, ooh, 2d6 plus 1. This ain't going to kill. 9 is 5. That's 9 plus 1, 10 damage, minus 5 armor is 5 damage. Knocks him down to 10 endurance points. This is okay. So Alwyn will move over to attack the upper left magician. First off, punch him in the face to try and break his concentration with his armoured gauntlet. The Fist of Justice. The Fist of Justice strikes 2 for 2d6 plus 3 damage. 13. Minus 5 is going to be 8, leaves him with 7 endurance, and then slice through his neck with a blood sword. 17 more points is 12 of his remaining 7 endurance. He is defeated. Brother Kern will now move to attack the same disciple that Remy slashed with his sword. He hits. Oh! Magic staff, right, yeah. With an extra plus 1 damage, plus 2. Whoa. Dice, yes. 10 points is 5 after armor. Does not defeat him, but that's okay. I should amend this. And this. Ariadne will blast the Magi down there at the bottom. I'm tempted to say I might have to ignore the optional movement rules for this encounter, but it seems to be in such a confined space that we're all okay. So, 1d6 plus 5 is a 10. The Nemesis Bolt spell isn't finished yet. She's still concentrating. Round 2. Karunaz moves to finish off this one. He hits. He scores 31 points of damage. That disciple breathes no more. Remy will now attack his previous foe. Adds a hit. 9 damage. Leaves him with 1 endurance point remaining after armor. So Alwyn will then close with the unengaged one. And you know what? Punch him in the guts to stun him, then kill him with the sword. Okay. Punch to the guts. Fails. Okay. Is the blood sword alone enough to slay him? Yes, it is. It finally rolls over 14 damage and gets a 24. Excellent stuff. Brother Kern may well finish this fight at this rate. And I believe he does. Oh, bang on the armor value. Ariadne, will your spell be enough. She fails to cast her spell. We actually do go to round 3. Alright, Karunas is going to come in and finish him off. 96. 6 points will kill him. Doesn't matter what we roll. He's dead. The fight is at an end. We did indeed manage to kill them all before 3 rounds had passed. There is insufficient power in the summoning spell for the Magi to manifest themselves. The earthly music from the 5 stars becomes a cacophony, building in pitch until it is audible only as an ethereal shriek. Suddenly the stars explode in a shower of prismatic sparks. For a moment you fancy you glimpse the faces of giants against the sky, faces contorted in expressions of ultimate horror. Then there is only silence and the stillness of the night. You watch the glowing debris from the 5 stars fall and go out in the darkness like dying embers. You turn to go, but as you reach the staircase, a blue radiance flares up behind you. An unearthly voice whispers, "You are quick to write off your oldest foe." You spin around, chilled to the marrow of your bones. Blue moon. Magus Tor corrects the manifestation before you. In which case, I'm glad we didn't. Oh man, we could have wasted truly powerful items on this encounter and then not had them available. Oh, but is this the illusion now his last chance? It is like a tall, robed shadow, glowing with pallid blue light around a core of cold blackness. By dint of your efforts, my brethren have been destroyed. No matter. I remain, and now the millennium that is to come will be ushered in by me alone. For a moment you are too stunned to do anything. Can we hit him with the blood sword? How did you survive? The spell of reincarnation was disrupted. The 5 were destroyed. I shall delight in explaining my victory, replies Magus Tor, as my explanation will be the last thing you hear in this life. His voice, you notice, is getting stronger, and the blue light radiating from his shadow form is getting brighter. In truth, I was destroyed with the others, but I was able to create this virtual self, this phantasm you see before you. Momentarily, I exist only as an illusion, but as you know, mine is the power to turn illusion into reality. We do have the code word Mason, and Karunas is still alive. He may save us. He lives only in our imagination, says Karunas. Our minds are his gateway to this world. If we die before he can convert his illusory self into reality, he will be destroyed. I don't think that's our best option. Ooh. Oh god, if we don't sacrifice ourselves, will Karunas attack us? You know. Ooh, is this a big test of faith? A really big test of faith. I did say I think we can trust Karunas. God, let's do it. Let's trust him. This might be how we win. This is like the test of the Archangel of Death. Let's... Yes. You compose your thoughts and hurry over to the edge of the roof. God is great, cries Karunas and launches himself off into space. He falls without a sound until he is swallowed up in the darkness. Breathing a last prayer, you jump after him. Behind you, Magus Tor gives a long, low groan of despair. Ironic that in his final moment he desired above all else that you, his greatest foes, should not die. The wind whistles up past you. You do not feel your impact with the ground. Your oblivion spells doom for the resurrected magus, whose existence in reality is still just a flickering illusion. With no other mind to take root in, he is destroyed. Your sleep of death does not last long. A trumpet note opens your eyelids. Karunas is beside you. "We live again," he says, sitting up, "as do all the dead, for it is now the day of judgment, and we are called by our Maker to stand before him." The Magi have been defeated forever. Your quest ends in victory. The last trump sounds throughout the world as midnight brings the end of time. All those who have died in all the earth's history are awaking from the sleep of death. All of your companions and adversaries live again. You see the troubadour who gave you the first fragment of the blood sword and set you on your quest. He greets you with a smile as he plucks at the strings of his harp, drawing forth a tune of supernatural beauty. In that instant you know him for who he is. No mere mortal, but an incarnation of the Archangel Abdiel, who forged the swords of life and death. He descended to Middle-earth to choose mortals who could undertake the holy quest on behalf of all mankind, and he chose you. A golden light spreads up from the horizon. It is not the dawn, or at any rate no ordinary dawn, for it comes from all around, and the light it brings to the world will never fade. You feel ecstatic, filled with a vigor and purity of understanding that you have never known. The Creator of all is coming to judge his children, and to be judged by them, for that has been the purpose of all time to this moment. You know that you have done God's will, and paradise will be your reward. But, better than this, you did what you knew to be right. Your knowledge of that fact, and your awareness of your identity in the scheme of things, this, in itself, is paradise. Whoa. Is the end the same in Old Book 5? Just in case there's any more. It feels almost as if there should be a little more. No, it is the same. We have done well. Our quest is over. We have succeeded. We have saved the world of legend. Now this is indeed an epic quest. It's, woof, all 5 books are finished. It's nearly the end of the series. I'll do a final thoughts video, as I've done for all of the other 5 books after this one. In many ways, that final encounter feels like it was too easy. Probably because we were expected to do something else, like waste our time scattering about, not focusing on individual mages, or take that little bit too long finishing them off by sending Remy and Brother Kern to attack different targets. If we had done that and hadn't managed to pull off the Nemesis Bolt spell, I'm still thinking, right, Remy and Brother Kern and a Sword Thrust spell could have finished one in one round, right? Essentially, Karunas can kill one a round, and the Warrior with the Blood Sword can also kill one a round pretty much. So it's just a matter of if the other 3 party members could kill the other 3 mages. However, if we had a smaller party, say a single hero and Karunas, it would have been harder to kill all 5 in time. I mean, technically we could have killed one a round each and would have probably done it all the same. But I'm sure it would be possible to fail. I suspect I've missed some very nasty traps or very nasty encounters in this book. Possibly through wise choices, possibly by just blind luck. Well, the adventure has come to an end, and we've all earned our rewards. It's time to celebrate. I got to think about what I'll be playing next. I'm probably... Well, there's some other games on the channel that I haven't finished that I'd like to get back to. In terms of game books, I'd like to tackle the Golden Dragon series and the Cretan Chronicles series. The Golden Dragon series is 6 books that are not related. They're individual standalone adventures. And I do not think I would play them back to back. I believe I would play them in between other games. So like maybe I'd play a bit, finish off something, play a book of Golden Dragon, play something else for a while, play book 2 of Golden Dragon, and so on, right? They're individual standalone fantasy stories, and they are very standalone. Like in one book you play a knight, in another you play a explorer exploring a temple in the jungle, and so on. They're all fantasy themed. I mean, one you play a wizard, I think, they are fantastically themed. They seem to be set in the same world, possibly even in the same world of Legend as the Bloodsword books, but I'm not entirely certain on that one. They have a fairly simple rules system. I mean, you don't even have a stat for how good you are at fighting. You just have, like, vigor, I think it is, for your health, and psychic resistance, and maybe an agility score. And for fighting, your hero is assumed to have the same degree of combat skill on every playthrough, and every fight is just a straight roll 2 dice and be like, you hit the monster hits you, maybe a draw where no one gets hurt, and the odds of it are based on purely how good the monster is at fighting, and your hero has a static skill value. The Cretan Chronicles is a series of 3 books that is essentially the story of Theseus and the Minotaur, and if you stick close to the original legend, you'll do pretty well. I always think of it as the Blood Feud of Alpheus series, because the first book is called The Blood Feud of Alpheus, and I didn't get hold of the other books till much later on. As with Golden Dragon, I think I would pace for Cretan Chronicles with things in between. But because there's only 3 of them, I might do them back to back, all in one go. The fun thing about the Cretan Chronicles is, as with many Greek heroes, you get to choose a patron god, patron deity, god or goddess, and they all give different forms of advice in the adventure. You can appeal to them at certain points, and they will come and tell you what they think you should do. And they have, almost all of them, the correct personalities. I would say Ares is slightly out. He feels more like the Roman god Mars than the Greek god Ares. But the others are fairly close to what you'd expect. It's interesting, because Athena is the wise, intelligent one. She's book-learned and has a bit of a lisp. If you ask Aphrodite for advice, she's like a total bimbo and just asks you how pretty you think she is and stuff like that. It's quite funny in a way. I could go tackle that soon. So I'll probably start one of those 2 next. Now, I'll probably put up a little community poll on which one people would like me to play first out of those 2. And Lone Wolf isn't going on the poll because Lone Wolf is going to happen sometime soon, I reckon. And what else? Well, I feel I should be in awe at my achievement, but in a way I feel almost slightly underwhelmed by the ending. Not by the glory and beauty of it, but by the challenge of the final encounter seemed relatively easy. But that could be because the decisions around it are quite challenging. I think maybe I need to wait a bit and let the gravitas, the weight of the situation sink in. And I should absolutely take pride in my achievement. I just don't feel quite ready just yet. I've beat Book 5 of Bloodsword for the first time ever. Just as I beat Book 4 of Bloodsword for the first time ever. I think I'm doing reasonably well. Yeah. I mean, without the aid of Karunas, that final encounter would have been much harder, right? Think of that, right? If we'd fought him, right, you killed the person you were bodyguarding, you fool. He's going to kill us on his own. She wasn't a real threat. He is. If we got into a fight with him, we would have been so screwed. I wonder what would have happened if he died and we'd had to take the Sword of Death and turn to Section 40. We wouldn't have been able to... Oh, no. We would be able to win because he'd be restored to life again. Wow. Let's go look it up now. Let's absolutely go and look now and see what happens. Make sure you have a note of the previous entry, as this entry will not direct you back there. Also, I want to talk about the fact that the Bloodsword and the Sword of Death give us the ability to kill an undead creature that fails a psychic resistance roll. And we haven't met a single undead creature in this entire adventure. Since we picked up the Bloodsword in Book 4, we encountered no undead. Which means there must be some in this adventure somewhere. Maybe if we messed up the ritual, the 5 Magi would have been counted as undead and we would have had to fight them. If it wounds an undead creature, yeah. So this just tells us the same stats. Okay, so let's see. Map 439. Let's pretend we fail completely. 439. Oh, right. I'm looking at the old book, that's why. 543. Very near the end at 550, actually. Okay. The rite is now complete. The disciples stop chanting, but the ethereal music emanating from the 5 stars continues to grow in strength. Okay. And now we need to not kill them. And they attack us. And we've been warned not to kill them. Are they giving their lives so that their lords may live? Each time you kill one of them, put a cross on your character sheet. This does not apply in the case of any you may have killed previously, only those you have killed from now on. Also put a cross for any player they manage to kill from now on. So, anyone who dies after the ritual is complete. So 3 rounds, any surviving mages attack us. If they manage to kill us, or we kill any of them. So after 5 rounds, what if we wait over 5 rounds? Okay, so 407. Literally just the next page here. On your character sheet, you should have a note of the total fatalities on both sides since the ritual was completed. Each soul will add to the energy of this spell. Roll 1 die for each fatality. Sacrifice strength. We don't have the code word deliverance. We didn't scatter salt across the pentacle. We don't have the code word deliverance, probably because we didn't free the sacrificial victims who could all die now as well. So 464. I'm looking to see how much more deadly this could be. Sacrifice strength is 29 or more, 15 or 20. Okay. I mean, I'm presuming, let's go straight to 161, like all 5 archmages appear, game over, we all die, right? No dice, just dead. 5 stars, but standing with us around, each wears robes of tooling. Yeah. So that's all 5. And then obviously varying degrees of peril and difficulty depending on how many of them succeeded. It does seem highly unlikely that we would get to that state, though, because they are so easy to kill early on. Maybe if we spent time rescuing the victims from inside the pentacle, the mages might complete their ritual, then come fight us. Ooh, yeah, okay, interesting. Right, well, that's something to maybe look into in the future. Ooh. Heaviest. I'm seeing this now, and I'm like, oh, more interesting, exciting things. Well, well, well. The adventure has been complete. I do feel like I've succeeded. The danger here was in taking different choices and having a more difficult, possibly much more epic ending. It feels in the end maybe we took the assassin's route of the path of least resistance, but it seemed to work well for us. And, you know, in the end, the Lord God will come to judge us all, and we will judge him as to how well he has done, putting us all, the whole world, building up to this time. And he will say, have I done well? And we will say, yes. You have done well. Overall, you know, there might have been a few odd things, like, you know, nasty people, horrible things in the world, but it all gets taken into account. Yeah, it's like Egyptian mythology with the whole, you know, the crocodile and the feather and the heart for the dead. You know, if your heart weighs more than a feather, the crocodile gets to eat it, and you don't get to go to the afterlife. I think I'm going to leave it there, and I'll see what final thoughts I come up with in the next video. Well, thanks a lot, everybody, for watching. We have gone on a quest of epic proportions, achieved greatness, and I think we should take pride in our achievements. So, go now. Be at peace. Live life to the fullest. Enjoy yourselves. And hey, always remember to come back here if you want to see what I'm putting up next, you know? There'll be a final thoughts video on this series as it is anyway. Cheers, guys. Be virtuous. Be heroic. And I'll see you all in the next video if you are generous enough to come back and share that with me. I thank you all very much for watching, and I'll bid you all a very fond farewell for now.